because up to the age of 7, I lived with my biological mother, who was quite challenged mentally, and she had abusive boyfriends. I was 2 years behind education, and I thought, I'm not going to amount to anything. So I thought, okay, Kyle, you need to do something right now. You need to prove them wrong right now. So I started this podcast to try and change, my personal branding and my future as well. So it's very important not to be dictated by the certain education path. Do what's right for you. So thank you for joining me today, Dave, for the first ever in-person podcast. I'm very excited about this. The equipment is absolutely amazing. Wesley is an amazing person as well for having this going. So thank you, Wesley. And Dave, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Yes. So hello, my name is Dave James. Although it's not Dave James. That sounds like it's a James Bond thing. I always talk to people about I do 3.5 things. I am a professional speaker. So I speak on a number of subjects, including happiness and now speaking as well in communication. I host events professionally, so MC events. I coach and support speakers and also business owners and business leaders in how to communicate and how to speak, anywhere from speaking in their work right the way through to speaking on stage. And then I do a little bit, the half is I do some stand-up comedy and stand-up comedy hosting as well.
I didn't know you do stand-up comedy, James says.
Yeah, so I started doing that about 3 years ago. I went and did a stand-up comedy course. It's not like a GCSE of stand-up comedy, but I did a stand-up comedy course because I was interested in whether I could be intentionally funny, because being funny, quips, no problem. I can do that in the moment, but writing something which you're going to have to deliver, that is a very different thing. And I found it was really enjoyable, and it's a great way to learn. It's a great way to learn how to fail very, very quickly.
And yeah, 100%. So what would you say got you into the public speaking industry? Because obviously it's a very difficult thing for some people because they can barely speak to 20 people, but obviously you speak to loads. I mean, you're quite big on LinkedIn, and you do talks in front of loads of people, and the effect of it is incredible because, there's people standing cheering for you. So what would you say got you into that, and what drives you to keep on doing it?
I love that they cheer for me. I need more videos of people cheering for me. It's a really good question. And actually just touching on something you said at the beginning, that people generally are scared of speaking in public. And there is some statistics from America from many years ago where they looked at the top 10 fears, and the top 3 are speaking in public, walking into a room full of strangers, and death. And the first 2 essentially cover what it's like to be a small business owner and network your business. I always joke when I go to events that, I can help them with the first 2. The third, probably not at the moment, so please don't die while we're in the room. But what was interesting, and we talked to Wesley about this outside, is that I started off doing video as part of marketing for my business about 10 years ago, so in 2015. And I found when I did more video, I got more confident with it. And somebody asked me to host an event in 2017, a foot health event in the podiatry world, which is my previous professional. Still am a podiatrist, but I don't practice anymore. And they said, will you come and host this industry event? And I went, yeah, I'll do that. And from then I got offers to speak on stage. I got to speak about things such as social media and marketing and business. And then as I progressed through my own personal development, I ended up finding more sort of life coaching type stuff. And I shifted from a podiatry business, a healthcare business, into business coaching and marketing coaching, and then moved into life coaching. And while I was going through that process, I realized that speaking for me was such a good way of being visible as part of my marketing and to use kind of cheesy business language to generate leads, which I always struggle with that language anyway. And then found that I really enjoyed it. And I like to try different things, and I like to work out how can you connect with an audience. What is it you can do in a room which generates trust and it makes speaking more interesting for the audience? Because let's be honest, there's a lot of people you see speak and you're never going to get that time back again. And it may be that some people see me speaking and think exactly the same, but I got very geeky about how can you develop a really good connection with an audience so that you can help them to transform, help them to go on a journey, because that's what you're there for. You're there in service of your audience, and that's why the comedy was part of it. That's why bits of improv are part of it. That's why I love acting theory and acting stuff as well, and knowledge. And also I did a clowning workshop last year, and we don't want to go down the route of that because I still don't know what happened in 5 days in London when I was clowning. But you bring in all of these ways about how can you be present with an audience and be yourself and connect with them and get trust. And I got really geeky and got really interested in it and found I love doing it. And then I love helping other people to do it as well.
It's very true when you say you're in service of the audience, because the point of Lead the Way Pod is to help people realize that, regardless of where you start from, you can succeed if you put your mind to it. If you're passionate about it, you will do it. I mean, many years ago in middle school, I would have not ever expected me to do this, because I was so terrified of public speaking. I could barely maintain eye contact. But now I'm doing this. It's something I never expected, but I'm really proud of it. And making an impact on the audience as well, and having you here means a lot. So thank you for that.
And you should be proud of what you're doing, because a lot of people have ideas, and I'm guilty of this as well. I have ideas about all kinds of things. I have goodness knows how many business ideas during the day. The key is what you do with it. The key is the action that you take. And we have a mutual connection in the form of David Heiner, who's an amazing speaker. If you don't know who David Heiner is, please go and follow him. He's the Rhino. He's amazing. And he is very much in service of the audience, but what he does is he helps people, excuse me, to develop and to grow and to take action. And he talks a lot about massive goals. And I know that he's had a really big influence on you from that point. So most people have these ideas and go, yeah, that'd be nice. And then there's people who go, I have an idea, let's try it. And this is what you're doing. I mean, we're sat in a podcast studio because of an idea that you had. You talk to people that you're going to be meeting later on this week as we record this, who are big names, and I won't mention them. You can mention them later if you choose to. But that's because of the work you've done. That's because of the choices you've made and the actions you've taken. And that, you should be very proud of that.
Yeah, 100%. So I may as well mention those names also here.
We've dropped it in, haven't we?
We've dropped it in. We may as well give the audience. So on Friday, I'll be meeting Simon Squibb, who many of you may know as an angel investor. He helps, I think he's invested into 79 businesses up to date. But he helps everyone across the board, from leaving the traditional 9-to-5 jobs to aspire their own dreams. But I met him first at Ideas Fest 2024.
And you spoke at Ideas Fest as well?
I did speak at Ideas Fest as well. That was an incredible opportunity to, just speak my ideas to so many amazing entrepreneurs and people of interest. But Simon was incredible. He was very supportive. But I want to thank Sam Squire and everyone at Ideas Fest and Inspire to Ignite, because without them, I don't think I would have as nearly as many of these opportunities as I do, meeting these amazing people. But they've certainly done a lot, and Simon Squibb he's been a massive influence on me and a role model, and so have you as well. Because we spoke quite a bit, and I'm constantly looking at your LinkedIn posts on how to improve at speaking myself. So.
Oh, I like that. Dan, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I do post on LinkedIn every day. So there's always something there. I think it's really interesting though that with the speaking that you do, and this is if we're giving advice to people on speaking generally, that the best thing you can do is to get out there and speak. A lot of people are worried that, well, I don't have the confidence to speak. I'd never be confident enough to go and speak in front of a group of people. And I flip it around and say, actually, the confidence doesn't come before you speak. The confidence comes from speaking. And we have so many opportunities to speak. And it's a couple of things you said which are really interesting. One is that we're not taught at school. I mean, I remember when I was 12 which is many years ago, doing a thing called the English Speaking Board exam. And it happened to fall on the same day that I had broken my arm. So I did it with a broken arm, which wasn't much fun. But there's not really the same opportunities for most people at school to develop their speaking skills. You go to the US, there's oracy, there's the spelling bees, there's debating clubs, there's all these opportunities. And so we come through school and come out the other side, and we don't have the opportunity to do that. And then I think because of that, there's that entrepreneurial route, which a lot of people don't take. And I don't know what it's like in school now. Certainly when I was at school, it was a very clear path of GCSEs, because I was second year of GCSEs, I've been around that long. So GCSEs, A-levels or college, university, and then you go into the world of work, and you probably work until you were 55, maybe 60, and retire. I took a very different route through computing, care, nursing, podiatry, then teaching various other things, and then to work for myself. But a lot of people don't realize they've got that opportunity, that you don't have to follow this linear path. And that's a huge thing. You're not following that linear path, which is great.
Most certainly not, no. Because I believe in, most importantly, freedom, of course, but helping other people to start their own businesses as well, so they can sort of go on a different path, because that path it's not for everyone, but it most certainly is for some people, because some people feel more, I suppose it's a safety barrier for them. It's always there. And obviously, if you go on a different path, there's new risks involved, which many people aren't prepared to take. But certainly I would urge you to go on your own path and do what's right for you. Because up to the age of 7, I lived with my biological mother, who was quite challenged mentally, and she had abusive boyfriends. I was 2 years behind education, and I thought, I'm not going to amount to anything. So I thought, okay, Kyle, you need to do something right now. You need to prove them wrong right now. So I started this podcast to try and change, my personal branding and my future as well. So it's very important not to be dictated by the certain education path. Do what's right for you.
Yeah, agree completely. And thank you for sharing that, because it's a big thing to go to that place of vulnerability, and that will set you apart from other people. A lot of people don't talk about the stuff which goes on for them, and talk about the stuff which happened in the past, and the stuff which is really key. But you have a choice of those things, and sometimes we don't see that choice. Sometimes it's not obvious to it. Some people will go down the safe route. And I there's a video, that's a record. This is a video I'm doing which goes out, I think, on LinkedIn this week, where I asked the question. I say, we hear about the courage of people who've given up things now in order to have success in the future. But what we don't hear about is the courage of people to actually say, no, I don't want to give up things now. I actually want to live my life in a particular way now. And that is also a courageous decision. And the thing is, you choose. You choose. And there are people who will become entrepreneurs, run their own businesses, provide employment for other people. And there are people who will be employed by those people. And there is no right and wrong apart from the path which works for you.
100%. It is what works for you. We're not gonna sit here and judge you for not wanting to start your own business. It is what's right for you. And if it's for you to go down the safe route, then 100% do it. Dave, you speak about working in the nurse industry. Can you tell us more about that? Because that sounds quite interesting. An interesting jump from that sort of sector to public speaking.
It's very different, isn't it? And nursing was never my first choice. When I was at school, I got suspended at 16 for fighting, and I wasn't a fighter. I would like to say that I wasn't a fighter. I was a lover, but that wasn't true either. So I flunked my GCSEs. I went back into the sixth form at the school I was at in Hagley in Worcestershire, and within about 3 months, they'd asked me to leave because I wasn't following their schedule and they didn't like it. So I had a what I suppose could be called the equivalent of a gap year back then, but it wasn't. It was me doing odd jobs. And then I did a computing course for a couple of years. Realised computing had always been something I'd loved. I had a Commodore 64. I loved gaming. It was the programming. It was the thing I really enjoyed. And then tried to do an HND in computing afterwards and flunked it. And I tried university in that time, didn't do well. And it wasn't pretty. And then in 94, I had a very good friend of mine die at the beginning of the year. And that was the second kind of big death for me, which took me down the route of where I am now. And I went off the rails a bit in 94. 94 was a tough year. And so I ended up going to work in a nursing home. It was the choice of that or a children's play coordinator. And I still don't know what that job was, but I took the nursing home job. Went to the job centre on the Tuesday morning. On the Tuesday afternoon had an interview. On the Wednesday they offered me a shift to do, and by the Thursday I was working there full time. It's just the kind of stuff which doesn't happen there. And I did that for a couple of years, and then realised I needed more responsibility because I was working in care. Nursing was the obvious route to go, and I applied to nurse and went off and trained to be a nurse. And weirdly, my dad is an insurance broker, entrepreneur, started his own business in '83, has not worked for anyone since then. And my mum was a nurse, and instead of following him into insurance, I followed my mum into nursing, and that was fun. And I did that full time for 4 years. 3 of those years working in A&E. And to touch on the bit about it's very different to being working in speaking, there are some real similarities. There are some real similarities in terms of I talk a lot with speaking about authenticity and presence. So authenticity being that idea that how you express yourself outwardly is as close to the inner state as possible, because so many people have that gap between them. But also presence, about being with that person while you're nursing them. And those are both skills which you bring across into speaking. And the other thing as well is in A&E, you never know what's going to happen next. You never know. That phone in the corner, the red phone will ring. They could bring in a multiple person trauma. You have to be ready for it. When you're hosting an event or when you're doing stand-up comedy, you don't know what's going to happen. And most of the time in stand-up comedy, you're instigating that. You're poking to see what happens. You're testing people. But the skills do kind of flip over. What I would say about working in nursing and working in the NHS in general is it's a very different mindset, because you don't have to go out and market to get your patients or clients, I suppose the equivalent would be. They're just there. Whereas when you go into a business on your own, you've got to go out and do the outreach. And even I still find that hard now. That kind of connecting with people and networking and selling to people. It's still something I find very alien. But certainly there are skills that I've learned in nursing, which I still use today. And even skills that I learned in working in care and nursing home, which I still reference today. If only it's the stories. If only it's the stories to tell on stage.
So for obviously trying to find clients, it is really tough, because you have to find the right people as well. You can't just take anyone. They have to be right for you. But certainly LinkedIn has worked as a secret weapon for me, because I think we came across each other on LinkedIn as well through a post or something.
Yeah, so Dave mentioned you, and I reached out to you and said, I'm around the corner. You're in Redditch, I'm in Bromsgrove, I'll come and say hello. That was it. That's where it started.
Yeah, 100%. So I suppose it's word of mouth that's also a secret weapon in business, isn't it? If you make yourself look worthy, they're going to recommend you to other people. But you have to show you're worthy of time. Otherwise they'll prioritize someone else.
Yeah, and it's marrying up again. It comes back to, we'll talk about authenticity, marrying up the inner and outer state. So for me, it seems to be if you know what it is that you do. So I'm very clear that the work I do, the two bits of work I do more than anything else are, I coach people around speaking and I host events. So as long as people know that I do those things and they come and talk to me about that, it marries up quite nicely. When I was doing more life coaching for me, I found really hard to market, because you can't promise anything over a particular time, and what it is, you don't know what it might be. And I always joke that it's about as tangible as a fart. You can't hold on to a fart. It just can't do it. And life coaching is hugely transformational. I've been coached over the years. It's been one of the biggest things which has made a huge difference to me. But it's very hard to say to someone, you're going to get a result. I don't know what it is, and it'll be in a time which I don't know what that time is, and I don't know what it'll look like. Now, pay me some money. I found that very hard. Yeah, I know there are some life coaches out there who would, I'm sure they'll listen to this and they'll come hunting for me, who would disagree with that totally. But as soon as you know what it is you do, it's tangible, and you talk about it consistently, it snowballs.
Yeah, 100%. So I was in college, and a few of the business teachers and students have seen my content, and there was a tutor from the higher education status, and he said, Kyle, I'd love you to do a talk to our level 4, level 5 students. And I was like, really incredible. So myself and my tutor sat down and we literally had a negotiation deal. We've agreed for me to have a cup of tea with 2 sugars to be put on the college magazine, which the governors see, and a black coffee for my tutor, because she's like, Kyle, you're going places and I need to be your agent. So honestly, I really do love college for the opportunities. It's great. It really is.
You've fallen onto something, and there's intention, there's action, and there's always luck in these things. We minimize the opportunity and the luck which comes into it. But I think of this stuff in the same way as perhaps investing money. That you look at someone like Warren Buffett is the person which a lot of coaches always go to as the richest man on the planet. If you look at when his wealth was, the most amount of his wealth was only generated in about the last 10 years. So if you have got time, if you're frugal and you're very careful with what you do, you can achieve all kinds of things, and you're starting young. So you have got the time, and to be fair, mate, I'm in my early 50s now. I've still got the time to do stuff. But when you're younger, you've got the time to try things. If it doesn't work, you can go somewhere else. You can do something different. But the advice I would give on that is that everything you do has value in the future. There's a whole width of experience which sometimes we don't tap into. It took me a while to realise that actually there was a connection between my A&E nursing and the speaking, and all of the things I'd done working for the NHS and the management, all of those things. It took me a while to go, oh yeah, that's actually really important. And so everything you do will have some use, even if it's not obvious at the beginning.
On behalf of myself and the audience, Dave, thank you for working within the NHS, because they're amazing people, and honestly, they don't get enough credit. They really don't get enough credit. But thank you for doing that, because it's incredible.
It's a shame it's not Thursday, because then you could clap.
Oh no. Yeah, clap for the NHS.
But you're right, and we better not go down the rabbit hole of me talking about my experience in the NHS. I loved my time in the NHS. I'm hugely grateful for it, and also at the same time, I can see where there are things which need to change very drastically. And fingers crossed that we have a government in who can do that. I'm not going to touch wood or do anything, but yeah, there's so many people out there who work for the NHS who do not get the recognition they deserve, and they work very hard and a lot of goodwill, and that's what keeps the NHS going. So yeah, I echo that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. So honestly, as well, when you said obviously these opportunities sort of snowball, not only am I being asked to speak at multiple places, but the amount of sponsorships as well that are sort of coming through.
You go for this one,
Maybe for this one, most specifically, my podcast logo on a can, a water can.
So good.
It's incredible, the colour scheme and everything. But I was never, ever expecting my logo on a can or anything physical. So it's incredible. But also, a friend is helping me with potential merchandise in the future. So hopefully, I suppose I'm trying to work on my personal branding, trying to get myself out there as well. That's not the easiest. It's incredible, isn't it?
So good, isn't it? So good. Can I just say that I'm not having that tattooed on me just yet? We've got a few more listens to go. I'm not even going to say. I was going to say then if it just gets 1,000. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not playing that game. But you're right about the personal branding. I have a logo for my business, which is it's an orange face. It's got no eyes, but it's got a beard. And it means that I can never shave my beard off again, which is really annoying. But it's a recognisable brand, and that is the key thing. And you get to play around with stuff. There's so many things you can do in merchandising. So many things.
I mean, if you want my logo tattooed on you, Dave, that's fine. You do you.
There'll be a very specific sponsorship deal for that. We're coming into multiple figures at the moment. Why is it? There's a question for you. Where should I get it tattooed?
I don't know, Dan. That's your choice. That's your choice. But no, it is incredible, because even I'm surprised, and my parents are really proud and surprised as well. They're like, there's no way, they're really impressed.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lad who's the same age as you, and he makes me proud every day in what he does. And I think that for me is the key thing. And as a parent, sometimes it's very easy to go to your kids, well, why aren't you doing this, and this? And actually, I'm just proud of what my kids do, full stop, whatever they want to do. As long as, and this is the cheesy phrase, as long as they're happy. And And whether that pays the bills or not, we will have to see. But yeah, your parents should be proud of you. You should be proud of what you're doing as well. Absolutely proud of what you do.
100%. But I'm certainly happy with it. I mean, obviously, there's loads of stresses around it between studying and managing the podcast, but I suppose that's the world of business. You know, you've got to prioritize multiple things.
And it's vocational. That was one of the beautiful things for me around nursing, was that you learn about nursing and how to care for people, and psychology and sociology and drugs and all of that stuff while you're actually doing it. So you're there giving the care, and it's like, well, I've just learnt about this particular drug for high blood pressure. Now I'm on the wards doing a drug round with the nurse, with my mentor, and I'm actually giving these things out, and we can have a discussion about it in the real world. And that's what you're doing. You're out here recording a podcast, doing videos, going out and meeting people, speaking on stage, and then you're a college going, well, actually, I've got practical experience of this, so I can look at how the theory and the practice work together. That's huge.
It is, but also obviously I'm quite fortunate for being so young, because I get to learn from my mistakes, because, you know, they're going to come quite often, but it's important that we overcome them and learn from them so then we can improve in the future. But this is certainly the biggest sort of achievement for Lead the Way Pod and myself as well, because, as you know, I record every episode over Zoom traditionally. But I think this is going to be the new way to go, really.
Yeah. Who do you want on the podcast? Who is your kind of, if you had to look into the future and find the person who you want to put on the podcast, who'd it be?
Stephen Bartlett. 100% Stephen Bartlett.
Say Stephen Bartlett. So we need to get you connected with Stephen Bartlett, don't we?
100% Stephen Bartlett. He's informational and he's motivational as well. He posts quite a lot about how he got to where he is and his sort of day-to-day things, and he's incredible. He works so hard and there's such an amazing team behind him. But for him to come on to my podcast, or for me to go on his, it'd be incredible, because obviously with my background, it'd be amazing for me to be able to inspire his sort of audience as well. Because I think I could potentially be the youngest guest on there. Who knows? But it'd be amazing to sort of be able to push out my story and to get connected with him as well. It'd be incredible to have his support.
And that'd be a Guinness World Record to go for as well, wouldn't it? The most podcasts that you've been on where you're the youngest person on there.
That'd be incredible.
That's a challenge. That's a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, but I suppose even if it appears or seems unrealistic, you've got to go for it, because you never know. He could be in contact within a few weeks or months and, you know, potentially want to talk. So but it's certainly a goal that I'm going to set.
And these people who we see on these big podcasts and on video and online, at the end of the day, they're people. You know, I would like to think that they still go to the toilet. I'd like to think that they still wipe their own bums. Although they probably earn enough money, they could probably get someone else to do it. But they're still human beings, and they still have the same things going on. And you know, a lot of the people I've met who are bigger names are delightful to speak to.
Yeah,
delightful to speak to.
100%. They are normal people, and they've been through this, not necessarily the same challenges, but they see the same things as us, you know, potentially. But they're incredible. They are just people, but people see them to be like sort of divided from everyone else. But they are just us. So, Stephen Bartlett, if you're interested,
Yes. Come on, Stephen.
please
Reach out. Do it.
please do reach out, because I believe it's in, you know, both interests really. But it would be incredible to have your support. It really would.
What's really interesting for me with podcasts, I've had this conversation with a couple of people recently, is that you're saying, yeah, come on, Stephen Bartlett, get on here, come and support me, and anyone else who wants support. And some people will be absolutely up for that because they can see the value in it. Some people won't go near it, and that's fine. But I look at it, what I love about podcasts is that as a speaker, if somebody said to me, will you come and speak to an audience of 100 people, you'd have the hand off for it, because as long as it was the right people, it's an opportunity to speak in front of an audience. Now, I don't know what an average podcast episode for you or for anyone is, but it's 100 people plus. You know, these are people who are listening to them, so they get to hear your voice. And podcasting is very, very intimate. You know, they're there with their headphones in, maybe they're in the gym, or maybe they're sitting there intentionally listening to a podcast. and you're right in their ears. It's like a conversation. So anyone who is looking to get on a podcast, it's an opportunity to put you and your brand and your voice in front of hundreds of people, thousands, millions in some cases.
Yeah. So my on a standard episode, an episode on Spotify and YouTube does normally get around 2 to 6 thousand views. Nowhere near Stephen Bartlett levels, but we're working on it. We're absolutely working on it.
So with that, and we know that there's listening time and people drop off, and if the subject isn't what people want to listen to, that's fine. But yeah, 2,000 plus, that's good numbers, and that is near the beginning, and it's going to increase.
100%. But yeah, if I think it's important to have these goals and do anything you can to try and reach it. But yes, if anyone would be interested, please do get in touch, because you wouldn't only be promoting your own voice, you'd be helping a young entrepreneur who has big dreams.
There we go. Absolutely, yeah, do it.
So personal branding, I suppose it's a very important thing, not just to be promoting your business, but yourself as well, because everyone cares about who owns it, like what made them want to own that particular business and what their day-to-day life looks like, because loads of people think it's a jolly time and it's unicorns and fluffy unicorns and rainbows, but it really isn't. That's not the reality of being a business owner.
Oh, I'd love a unicorn.
Oh, wouldn't we all?
I'd love it. I mean, I've got a hat with rhino horns on it. That's about as close as I'm getting to a unicorn. It's really interesting. We were saying this briefly when we had a break, that one of the things that people, I think, are craving now is they're craving real people. They're craving humanity and connection. We are in a place where AI will take the blemishes off your skin. It will make you look beautiful. We can do all kinds of things where we can bend the reality which we show to other people. But the thing we can't change is this. I was at an event this morning where they were talking about the fact that 5% of jobs potentially in the next year in the local area are probably going to go because of AI, and that's sad. But that's progress. That's how businesses move on, how industries move on. But then it's leveraging the things which AI can't do. Connection. It can't do. Yeah, and AI can't hug you. It can't shake your hand. It can't do all of those things which are the essence of being human. And I think that's what people want. They want real people talking about real things, sharing their real problems. And I think sometimes we see these people who do amazing feats. You'll have a man who climbs Everest in his underpants before breakfast on a Sunday, and we think because we've never done that, we cannot be anything big in the world. We cannot do stuff. But actually, for a lot of people, just getting up in the morning is enough. Just maybe picking up a phone call, having a conversation with somebody is enough. Just posting on LinkedIn or doing a video is enough. And I think we need to normalize that is okay to be doing those things, instead of normalizing that you've got to be doing these amazing things to be this fantastic person. But we're craving connection. We're craving real people, and I think that's what we need to do. Is we need to show the real side of ourselves, like you spoke about earlier, where you shared your story from when you were younger. We need to be talking about those kind of things more, because that's what connects us.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, especially people with big names, like they could have had very similar experiences of my own, but they're not so keen on sharing that part, because perhaps they want to, they might want to hide that sort of thing because they're not comfortable sharing that with the amount of viewers or listeners that they have, because it's a comfort thing.
Wherever you go, there you are. We were talking about this before, is that you can earn a lot of money, but unless you've sorted out the things which are going on for you, you're just going to have lots of money and still the same kind of problems. They don't go away, which is why there are stories of lottery winners who win the jackpot, and then within 2 years they've got no money again, because they don't change the fundamentals of who they are. But it's very interesting. I watch LinkedIn quite a lot because I spend a lot of time on there, and I do end up face palming like quite a lot, going, my God, what's going on here? Because you see all these people who've grown a business, they've made lots of money, and then they turn around saying it's okay to not push and take some time for yourself, forgetting that when they were building their business, that they were not looking after themselves and not taking time. But if somebody else who isn't where they want to be says it's okay to take a break and take some time for yourself, you'll have some people turn around and go, oh, you're just being lazy. And it's a really hard thing to balance. And I certainly, yeah, my business isn't where I would like it to be. It's doing okay, and I know there's still more work to do. But I know that I'm very sensitive to what I'm picking up in on social media, and I think that's where the work comes. Is we have to be able to manage that, and also we have to be able to put that out to the world as well. That it's okay to be doing things in a particular way, and okay to show the true version of yourself, and communicate with that with the world.
I will be completely honest. I'm quite guilty of not taking time for myself because I'm so in the mind frame of business, college, get it sorted, get to the best level you can be. But then the last previous episode I recorded was with Lewis Watkins, and he owns a brand called Clear for Men, and he makes a cleanser for men's mental health. And his thing is Take 5. So Take 5 is obviously whilst you're doing his sort of skincare, you're taking time for yourself, which is really important in the world of business because your business will not succeed as much if you have to look after yourself. It's a priority because you're not going to have the best business if if you're not looking after yourself, because the quality is not going to be as good. If you're happier, you're going to produce better content or better material for your clients. So I'm guilty of not taking time for myself. It's, but it's something that I personally need to develop.
But you've got the recognition of that now, and there's a big element of emotional intelligence and self-awareness and presence in that, and it's okay to recognize you need to take more time and go, but I'm not going to at the moment because I'm working on something else. That's absolutely fine if that works. What I find, and I've spoken on burnout before, and the question people go is, how do you avoid burnout? And my argument is, if you're an entrepreneur, you cannot avoid burnout. You are probably going to burn out at some point because that's the kind of stupid crap that we do. The key then is, how do we manage that process of being burnt out, and how do we, they talk about bouncing back, and it's bouncing forward. How do you bounce forward from it? How do we then notice when we're getting close to it and do something to ease ourselves back? Most entrepreneurs that I know, most business owners over the years, they struggle with their mental health, they struggle with depression, and they've probably burnt out or are going to at some point. And it's very sad to say that, but I think that's the reality of it. But it's how we manage the process around that for people which makes a difference. But that self-awareness for you is huge.
100%. But I think obviously burning out, it's going to happen sooner or later. But yeah, for me personally, because of my personal story, I think my drive is too heavy. Like I will not be stopping under, any circumstances. Or maybe if this podcast in the future sort of, crashes, it won't be a forever thing. I will keep on going, keep on inspiring people, because that's what I believe I was born to do.
I love that. And the vehicle by which you travel, in many ways, it doesn't matter. Some vehicles are big and brash and four-wheel drive and can be seen. Some are very, very small and efficient. But as long as, and you touched on that, your vision, your drive, and it's what Dave Heiner talks about, is he talks about a purpose so big that it's bigger than your fear. And I love that. And me and Dave have had conversations about this, that he knows that I struggle with finding that purpose. But if you know what it is you're working towards, then you will find the vehicle to move you in that direction. And some vehicles will get you 10 miles. Some vehicles will get you 100 miles. Some will get you all the way around the globe and back again. You just find the one which works.
Yeah, 100%. So I suppose it's if I say something, it's definitely prioritize your mental health. That's really, really important.
And drink branded water in a can.
And drink
Particularly this one.
Particularly this one. Yeah, it's incredible.
That's the most watery water you can get. You're looking for hydration, that's probably the thing.
Yeah.
Although I've never tried it, but I'm assuming it is, because they're doing sponsorship, so it must be good.
Incredible. Yeah. So hopefully when I go to Ideas Fest 2025, which is going to be in Tring again in September time, hopefully I'll have quite a few cases of these that I can just sort of give out and promote the podcast. So I believe that'll be incredible. But honestly, I'm certainly blown away, and I sort of keep this as a medal in my room, to be honest. On a I should have a dedicated case for it, just to keep it safe.
With LED lights.
LED lights, yeah.
So here's a question: is there a QR code on that can which anyone can scan and get straight through to your podcast?
Unfortunately, not. No, I don't think that was part of the thing. But Certainly, I can ask for the designers to do that because I think that'd be a great idea if there was a QR code here, perhaps.
Make it easy for people to find you. That's the other thing. If people don't know you exist, they won't come find you.
No, exactly. So you've got to make it almost practically dumb it down, make it as simple as possible.
Yeah, make it easy for people.
Yeah, so Dave, if you were building your brand completely scratch, how would you do it? How would you go about doing it?
That's a really good question, and there are so many things you could go to, but I am going to be very biased because of the work that I do, and I'm going to say that it would be to develop your speaking skills. And the reason for that is that speaking isn't just about going and standing on a big stage and doing a keynote. Speech and communication and speaking is part of everything we do. And I know that the fact that I get to speak on stages and I get to do the work that I do now started with me doing video 10 years ago, where I started to speak openly. And you find a stage, everyone can do it. Most people have got, I would say, I've got phones. Most people have got access to Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of these social media platforms, which are free to use. And the software which is out there, which is free to use as well. Get out there, get speaking, and talk about the things which are important to you. That's where I would go as the one thing.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you a completely irrelevant question to the episode. Do you like drinking tea, Dave?
I love drinking tea.
What is your favourite tea brand?
So I like Yorkshire tea. I have to say I like Yorkshire tea, and I get Yorkshire tea because it's very simple to get. I can go to my local supermarket and get it in bulk, and it's really good. And I do like a cup of Yorkshire tea. But I know we talked about this briefly before. There are people out there who are doing some amazing tea independently, and what you can't vouch for a lot of the time with the bigger brands, and I'm not going to say that Yorkshire tea are a problem with this because they'll sue me because I don't know, but it's very hard to trace your tea in the same way. But there is a company called Spill, and Spill do tea in just the most amazing way, and they turn it from being just a drink into an experience. And I would say that if I had the chance more often, then it would be investing in Spill tea, which also means that we need to have a chat with them and see if you can actually get them to sponsor. So we should have a pot of tea here, and we should have the water over there. But yeah, tea, love tea. Tea's wonderful. It's a gorgeous drink, and that's me being very British as well.
Of course, so yeah, we'll definitely have to get in contact with Spill and see if anything can happen because I do love my tea. Do you have a favourite particular, like English breakfast or grey or?
I tend to go for sort of the bog standard tea, and people say, "How do you like builder's tea?" And I will, if someone's making me tea, I'll have it how it comes because I'm not making it. But yeah, very simple. I do like a sweet tea occasionally, so I like chai on occasions, but mostly it is breakfast style tea, everyday tea. Earl Grey really struggle with, but I'm being a bit of a science fiction fan and a Star Trek fan. If you ever watch The Next Generation of Star Trek, then Captain Jean-Luc Picard always drinks Earl Grey, and he goes to the replicator and he just says, "Earl Grey, hot."
I absolutely love Earl Grey tea, to be honest. So I know your favourite brand is Yorkshire tea. Mine has to be Twinings, to be honest. I've always been a fan of Twinings, Earl Grey.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, you can tell you can take the boy out of Birmingham. You can't take Birmingham out of the boy. You say that's me. It's like someone from Birmingham drinking Yorkshire tea. Twinings, nice.
Always been a fan.
So that means we need to get Twinings to sponsor this as well.
That'd be incredible. Yeah, that would be incredible. If you enjoyed today's episode with the amazing Dave, please do search for myself on YouTube and Spotify at Lead the Way Pod, where you can see all of the amazing inspirational organic content. Please make sure you like and subscribe because as you do subscribe, the more sponsors that come in and support myself and the podcast. You can find me at Lead the Way Pod on YouTube and Spotify. Thank you for joining today, Dave, for the first ever episode, obviously recorded in a professional studio. Thank you to Wesley as well behind the camera. I appreciate everything you've done.
Yeah, Wesley's been brilliant. That experience has been fantastic, and a huge shout out to Wesley.
100%. So thank you for doing it.